Welcome, everybody, to the SCO Show from Mile High Sports. I'm Shawn Drotar, Payton Craft here. We are up at Peckish on the hill in Boulder. Of course, the original location, just a few steps away, but now the new location right up here on the hill, 3 times the size, but everything else you love about Peckish still here. All the wings, all the sauces. You go ahead and get the pizza, and it's a great place to catch and watch the games with 3 times the size. There's an outside area in the back. There's, of course, the patio out in the front. You can catch all the games here at Peckish, and of course, what goes better than pizza and wings with your sports, especially with your sports for the University of Colorado. So delighted to be out here at Peckish. We love to have the opportunity to get here on location. Payton has been doing that recently. More on that in a little bit, but it is an opportunity to talk about the spot up here. So new, so much newer and bigger. Make sure you come check it out. Check out the menus, peckish.co.com. You can also, by the way, look at the one down in the Denver Tech Center if you're not up here in Boulder. And if you haven't had a chance to try Peckish before, there's your opportunity right off I-25 and Bellevue. Go check it out too. Lunch specials and everything you expect from Peckish. All the great deals are all there as well. Our own Nate Lundy on Thursdays sits down there and gives you all his best bets prior to Thursday Night Football. So come on by and say hi to Nate on one of those days you're looking for a game, catching the football game. And of course, a couple nights ago, we had the football game, you had the baseball playoffs, you had the Avalanche, you had everything going all at once, and you can catch those things all at Peckish. So it's great to be here. But obviously, when we talk about being up at Peckish, I've been here a couple times before and done the show with Matt Smith. Haven't had a chance to do that with you up here, but you have been up here with a couple players. So we'll make sure we talk about that. But we wanted to start, obviously, in the Buffs bye week, 3-4. With the Utah game looming, and we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll save some of that for next week when we know more. But we thought this is a good time to check in. There were a lot of Buffs coming into the NFL, significant ones, of course. Travis Hunter picked 2nd overall, expected to be a franchise-changing guy for the Jaguars. The Jaguars are off to a 4-2 start, looking a lot better as well. But let's check in. Let's start there with Travis Hunter.
Yeah, and he's doing great. I think a big thing going into the NFL, I mean, he was a two-way player, played offense and defense in college football. You just don't have that big of an impact in the NFL. Not because he's not a great player. It's just harder to have that impact. So we're seeing him a lot more on offense, a couple snaps on defense, but they're definitely focusing him on offense. And he's been great. No receptions yet to touchdown. It's all right. We're hoping he gets one. But he's been great. He's had 20 receptions for 197 yards. He's doing great. And they're introducing him into defense. I think as a rookie, they don't want to overload him, right? You don't want him to get injured right in the first season. Right. So I think it's good. They're focusing on offense. I think he is a great wide receiver, and I would put him more in the offense than defense, but he's doing great so far. I hope for a touchdown this year. We don't know.
No, he's going to get one.
Yeah,
he's going to get more than one. But it is interesting when you look at that fit for Hunter, obviously, in Jacksonville. And that's been the discussion for a lot of people. Where does he fit? Because he's not going to play basically every snap, the 130 plus snaps that we saw at CU. That is not going to happen. That is not sustainable at the NFL level. And as amazing as Travis Hunter is, when you're talking about college football and all the teams in college football, the talent gap can be wide. So even though Travis Hunter had a huge gap in athletic ability and talent against a lot of players he played against in college, in the pros, the number 53 guy on the roster was an absolute hoss at his team in college, and that guy barely gets on the field. So, the expectations will be different, bringing him along a little bit slower. I've always felt, because of the fact that he's kind of a slender guy, I liked the idea of putting him a defensive back more, because I'd rather have him hit than be hit. But I do understand that in the NFL today, a lot of the objective is to try to generate plays, big plays, explosive plays. For that, you need playmakers that can separate, and certainly that's Travis Hunter. And I think the idea of sort of rehabilitating Trevor Lawrence's career after some interesting coaching experiences, giving him a talent like Travis Hunter helps, even if the numbers aren't there from the get-go.
Right, and if you've watched him play, I mean, his ability to jump and get above the other defenders is amazing. And like you said, size does have a kind of an issue, but for me, I'd rather see his talent go to making those big plays, because for me, defense is great, but you have to be able to put points on the board to score. And I think right now he's an asset to the Jaguars in that offense.
Yeah, and obviously when you can help the entire offense, including your quarterback, who needs that help, then the Jaguars can make a leap, and voila, here they are, 4-2, one game out of the of the top spot in the AFC. A lot of teams are in that mix, including the Denver Broncos, but they will be playing the Chargers this week in the NFL, so that's a big one for Broncos fans, for Buffs fans. Because that's an impactful game on a lot of different levels. So exciting to see what Hunter will do. I think people who thought he was going to take the league by storm, that's going to be tough, especially if you're trying to play both sides of the ball. Yes. Not only do you have to adjust to the NFL level and the playbooks and the vernacular and all that, but you have to do it on both sides of the ball. That's a slow burn. And I think as his career goes on, you're going to see him maybe just be sprinkled in on defense. I think one way or the other, he's going to start being on one side of the ball. I know Trav would love to play on both sides like he played. But mixed in at wide receiver, had other opportunities here and there in his career to make an impact. Sounds like Hunter is en route to doing that, but maybe with his primary play on the other side of the ball.
And you think, I mean, it's still his rookie season. He's young. He can take those hits as a young guy should, but as you get older and just your body starts to wear down, playing both sides of the ball just is not feasible.
It's too much. If you want him to be his best at whatever the primary position is, then you don't want to burden him with a lot of plays somewhere else. But obviously Travis Hunter was not the only player that's been making an impact in the NFL, and not maybe coincidentally, given their talent over the last couple of years. It's another wide receiver, but this one, let's talk about Jimmy Horn Jr.
Yeah, and he's doing great. He's with the Panthers right now. He's had 4 passes for 57 yards, 0 touchdowns. But again, when you're in a rookie season,
and the Panthers,
not the best. But he's contributing a lot to the rushing game, small touches, special teams. He's doing great. Again, it's kind of hard to say when the Panthers aren't that good this season. So it's a little hard to contribute when you're not able to produce what you've seen at the Buffs. But again, doing good against Dallas. The recent game, he had 2 catches, 36 yards. So he's improving little by little. Hopefully we start to see him a little more.
And another scenario where you're with a quarterback that's kind of trying to establish himself at that level in Bryce Young. It's so funny to watch the way quarterbacks get turned around in the NFL, right? Because already we're talking about Trevor Lawrence and Bryce Young, guys that were drafted not that long ago. And people wonder, well, whoa, did we mess up? We're bust. They're number 1 picks overall. Well, not necessarily. And sometimes it's a coordinator. Sometimes it's a head coach. Sometimes there's a lot of different things that can make a difference. But you have to wait. And if you wait, things can get better when you fill out more talent. You have people to work with your skill set. And also keep in mind, not every team works. Look right now over in the NFL. Sam Darnold looks like the best quarterback in the league. He's been putting up like best quarterback in the league numbers. If it's not, Baker Mayfield might be the whole proverbial leader in the clubhouse for MVP if it was today.
Right.
And you have guys that are moving around from team to team, and they get in a better setup. Somebody could maximize their ability.
Joe Flacco, for example.
Joe Flacco, quite frankly, even though it was bad against the Broncos, Justin Fields has looked better. Yeah. Sometimes you just need to be in the right situation. Even Mac Jones got dropped in cold in San Francisco, and if he had switched jerseys with Brock Purdy, you wouldn't have noticed the difference.
Right.
So that matters. And when you look at both Hunter and Horn, they're being asked to help that quarterback become established. So it's sort of a relationship where it's got to be symbiotic, where both sides work together to make it better.
Right.
Not so much with LeJohntay Wester, who obviously immediately burst onto the into the punt return team. And the quarterback situation there is not a problem. That's Lamar Jackson. The problem is Lamar Jackson is hurt.
Right. But for him, it might be better to not have Lamar Jackson. He'll get maybe a few more reps in, just trying to figure out their offense while you
that's a good
don't
point.
Have your starting quarterback. So again, preseason, he was great in preseason, had an 87-yard punt return touchdown.
First touchdown of the NFL season. Of course, preseason doesn't count, or Brandon Aubrey to have the field goal record. He doesn't. But nevertheless, what a way to burst on the scene, right?
Exactly. And sometimes you see it more in preseason because they just get more reps. You're going to see those big plays. One, people aren't playing to their max, but it's just a way for you to see it. And with Lamar Jackson out, he may be able to get a few more reps as you try to figure out what this offense needs to do.
And you're carving out a good spot on special teams. When you make that kind of splash, that makes a difference. And those people that follow the NFL, and you can follow even the Denver Broncos, two of the best players they've ever had, Terrell Davis and Rod Smith were afterthoughts that got Mike Shanahan's attention on special teams, and off you go. So, I mean, there's a lot to like about those starts for the Buffs. Obviously, the Shedeur Sanders situation remains complicated and in some sort of flux. But who knows? It is the Browns. They change quarterbacks like most of us change socks. Yeah. So I have a feeling that by the end of the year, he's going to get a crack at it, whether Browns fans, Browns ownership, Browns coaching like it or not. I think eventually they're going to have to give him a shot. But that still remains sort of the most perplexing, interesting story since the NFL draft.
Yeah, if someone asked me now what happened, I still cannot tell you why he dropped so far and why he's now starting. Yep, exactly. Why he's now starting behind Dylan Gabriel, who I thought he'd get drafted before. So he's kind of just an unknown. I hope I see him this season. I do want to see him play an NFL game just to see what it's like for him, but I have no idea.
I will say this for Shedeur, the style of play he had, and I've made this comparison on Mile High Sports today. His style of play is very similar to Russell Wilson's when he was young, down to the consistent idea of rolling out primarily to your right, waiting for someone to go get all the way downfield and go for that kill shot down the sideline. Obviously, he had Travis Hunter for a lot of those years. Russell Wilson had a bevy of targets, and Tyler Lockett and tons of Golden Tate and DK Metcalf, all sorts of guys left and right. But there's a lot of similarities there. And one of the things that I will say is that we've seen Russell Wilson in Denver briefly. Now he's the backup for Jackson Dart for the Giants, who will play in Denver this weekend. But it's because that style of play no longer really consistently functions at the NFL level. Teams have understood how to scheme that and stop that with the safety high, waiting for that. They're basically daring. They're like, well, go ahead and run. We'll bet that you're not going to get the first down running, or if you do, you're going to take a hit. You're willing to take that gamble. And so I do think there is some value for Shedeur Sanders in being able to get sort of immersed in the NFL world and realize that NFL speed is different. Some of the things you did won't work. You're going to have to come up with some new things. And quite frankly, it's better for his career to be able to do that sort of in the shadows than it would be if he was out there starting. If I were Shedeur Sanders, I know you want to play. I know it's frustrating, but quite frankly, let Dylan Gabriel take the lumps while you get better. So when you get to step on that field, you're a more refined quarterback at the NFL level. And that's a luxury that Dylan Gabriel, quite frankly, doesn't have right now.
Right. And you kind of go back to college football and the Buffs right now. Julian Lewis, he is now learning from Caden Salter. It's that ability to step back, see what the offense is doing, and kind of just get a look of what this team has for next year. And it relates back to NFL, college football. It kind of is a blessing to be able to be that backup quarterback and see how this is all working out.
Yeah, so that's kind of where the Buffs are at the moment in the NFL. Shout out, by the way, this week to a former colleague of mine, and obviously for anyone who's a Buffs fan, knows one, Alfred Williams. Alfred going to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Of course, champion on that 1990 Buffaloes team. Whatever, Georgia Tech, I don't have to respect it. But that's obviously really exciting to see Alfred Williams, who's had a long career, was able to finish his career and win with the Broncos on top of that. And of course, he's had his long media career in Denver too. Well-deserving, a guy that just walks around with a big smile and laugh all the time, and it belies the absolute terror that he was on the football field. So you kind of get everything. So congrats to Alfred Williams, of course, being soon to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Can't do much better than that. But we talked about how you have been up here at Peckish of late. And if you have gone to milehighsports.com, you could check the article that our producer, Danny Bailey, put together about some of the things. You had a chance to talk with Ben Finiseth, sitting right here, where the only difference is I am not housing a giant bowl of wings like the Buff safety was. And you also had a chance to talk with kicker Alejandro Mata, who has one of the more interesting stories, and he has been one of the guys that as soon as Coach Prime came in, there really has not been a kicker competition at all. Prime loves Mata, loves the consistency. We know that the range isn't really all that great, and that sometimes has been an issue. But they like that within the 40, the guy basically just doesn't miss. And for Deion Sanders, he looks at that and it's like, I need that reliability. And you had a chance to sit down with him. And of course, as a guy who started playing soccer, talk about the transition from soccer to football.
Yeah. So his first love is soccer. He told me his first love will always be soccer. But in middle school, it actually translated. He was doing a PE class and they're like, you have a great leg. We need a kicker. Tried football. And from then on, he went on to do football, and he went to Jackson State with Coach Prime. Then when Coach Prime came to CU, transferred with him, and Coach Prime has been a big influence for him through his football journey. But yeah, we got a chance to talk, and it's a very interesting story. He talks about the technique and how it's super different. You got to get the ball way up higher and that could translate a little why he can't kick as far back, because he still has that soccer leg a little bit. It's going far, but not high.
Right. And that's obviously an interesting way that's worked out for the Buffs, but he's been a very consistent player, even if it hasn't been spectacular. And when you are rebuilding a program like Deion Sanders was, coming into a program that won one game, obviously that having guys that are reliable, even if they're not Travis Hunters,
right,
are still really valuable because you know what you get. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but Bill Belichick talked about this years ago when he was coaching the Patriots. The idea that, players are humans. Some days they're up, some days they're down. But he said, I'd rather have it if you're rating players from 1 to 10. He's like, I would rather have a team of all 6s than a team of sometimes they're not, this guy's a 9, sometimes he's a 3. I don't know. He's like, give me all 6s because I know what I can do and I know what I can't. And that lets me game plan specifically. And Mata's been that kind of guy. The story he had, of following Coach Prime, it's really kind of neat. We want to give you a taste of that. Here's the man himself.
So you started at Jackson State, which is where Coach Prime started. Why did you transfer over to CU? Was it because of Coach Prime? Did you want a different experience? What was that? What did that look like?
I just want to follow Coach Prime. I know, plan A is making the NFL, and I know that if I want to make it, he's my best shot to make it.
Yeah. Well, he did well in the NFL,
exactly.
So that's a good one to follow for sure.
He has a blueprint for it. I just got to follow it.
There you go. I like it. So you're a senior this year. What is your plan after you graduate? What is kind of the trajectory that you're looking at?
Hopefully in the NFL. You know, some type of league. If not, I just want to keep playing football after graduation for sure.
So that's obviously the goal, and that's, I think, the goal for every player. I mean, let's face it. That's why you come to Colorado, right? The entire pitch is that Coach Prime and his coaching staff, a lot of them have played in the NFL and they know how to get you there. That's such an intriguing sales pitch that I think when they jumped into the transfer portal stuff, and we'll talk a little bit about an interesting thing they're doing there as well. Deion Sanders was ahead of the curve because he attacked the transfer portal as aggressively as anyone ever did, to the point where you had, other coaches in the SEC, I'm not going to name names, clowning on him, saying that's not sustainable. That's not something you can do. You can't build a team that way. Guess what? It's now the only way to build a team in college football right now. No, you can't do it without the transfer portal because the NIL world changed everything. Yeah,
and you look at SEC schools. The transfer portal is the way to go, and Deion Sanders was ahead of his time. Brought majority of Jackson State to CU. Bummer that we've lost a couple of really good guys that were at Jackson State. But for Mata, it definitely helped his career. When you're at Jackson State, you don't get those views. You don't get the social media, the NIL deals that people are getting here. So for him, and following the blueprint that Coach Prime laid out for him, now he has that opportunity to play football in the NFL for him, versus 2 years ago, he couldn't have said the same thing.
Well, and I really appreciate it. Very smart, because a lot of these guys, especially, when you're young and you're thinking like, I'm going to go to the NFL. I'll be completely honest. I think in today's NFL, the kickers, if you can't legitimately take a crack from 60, like if your coach doesn't believe I can try you from 60, it's awfully hard to make the NFL. But I love, even when he was talking to you, he said, if not there, another league, who knows? You can go to CFL. There's other options. And I think that's a really mature viewpoint to say, look, this is my goal, but I realize that you don't totally have control over that. And if I don't hit it, that's okay. I have other things that I plan to pursue. That's a really mature viewpoint. And I think it's a really, really smart one. And I think that's an undervalued part of the way this coaching staff prepares guys for the NFL, because you also have to prepare a lot of guys with the realization that you won't make the NFL. A handful of guys on this team at best will make the NFL. Most of you won't. So what do you plan to do when Charlie Offerdahl decided to hang it up because of the injuries and concussions? He was talking about going and becoming a dentist. And they not only did Coach Prime bring him up in front of the whole team and make a big deal out of it, make sure he got his applause, make sure he talked and joked about, well, we all know where to go in a couple of years when we need to get our teeth checked, but also made sure that the scholarship sustained because you were taking care of the person, not just the player. And that's obviously a really big part of kind of the Coach Prime experience. And there's an interesting part of that we'll talk about too that's happening this week during the bye week. But we are up at Peckish in Boulder, right on the hill, just really a short walk away from where it had been before. So if you knew where the original Peckish was, a piece of cake. If not, it's right in the dead center of the hill. If you've ever been to Boulder, you will not miss it for sure. So we're excited to be out here, 3 times the size of the original location, but everything else just as good. They can just make more of it now because everything is bigger. The kitchen is bigger. All of it's bigger. More TVs, more opportunities to sit out with your friends and enjoy games or just enjoy some wings and some outstanding pizza. One of the things about pizza that I learned talking with Byron, the owner of Peckish, was his head chef did not have baking experience. They went and then researched different ways of making crust. So Peckish's pizza crust is entirely its own. It was created basically as they were working it out here. So, I mean, you were getting really the idea of this kind of handmade experience with the pizza that you really legitimately will not get anywhere else. It is their own recipe that they created here. All the great wings. Are you a hot sauce or kind of more of the flavored sauce?
I'm more the flavor, like honey. If I do have the hot sauce, it has to have ranch. Ranch is
I agree with that. I'm not a blue cheese person. I'm a ranch.
Blue cheese, ranch.
Yeah, I'm ranch.
But I'm definitely like the Parmesan garlic. That's always good. Hot honey.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. And there's
spicy.
A honey garlic is one of the sauces right here at Peckish. It is delicious. I'm definitely a hot sauce guy. I've had everything except the one where, if you continue, if you can eat it for 10 minutes,
right.
Then you get a challenge. And that's not generally a good plan when, your moneymaker is your voice. Yeah. So you don't want to beat that to pieces. But I've gone over there. I get the liquid lava, which is the next hottest. And there's hot sauces, but their sauce doesn't. And I think people who enjoy hot sauces will get this reference. Otherwise, I probably sound like I'm crazy, Peyton. But a lot of hot sauces just taste like hot.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Flavor.
It's not really it's the old Ralph on The Simpsons. It tastes like burning. That's a lot of those, but that's not the case here. They're really distinct flavors. Even the hottest of hot sauces, so it's terrific. You can get it. Those, they have dry rubs, they have sauces, all of the options. If you've been to Peckish, you know what it is. Come check out the new location. If you haven't, and you haven't been in Boulder, that's okay. Go down to the DTC, I-25 in Bellevue, just a little bit west of that for the one in Bellevue Station. And same thing, even bigger than this location because spots on the hill have been here for a while, somewhat limited in space, but not so down there in that new build in which Peckish is in. It's terrific. They have a wall of LED TVs that can all be customized so you can see everything all at once. Even if they're doing the Jeopardy on Wednesdays, you can still watch all the games everywhere else. I have to finish first. I finished second. I need to finish first. I'll do better. But it's a terrific place to check it out. If you like wings, if you like pizza, and since you're watching a sports podcast, I'm guessing you do, and a bunch of different beers as well. You want to check out Peckish, peckishco.com for all of the information. But as we look at the Buff season at this point, obviously it's been an interesting one. They are 3-4 as they hit this bye week. I will say that maybe not too long ago, 3-4 might have looked pretty good. Yeah. So they get the big win. They upset Iowa State. And now all of a sudden you look at the last few games somewhat differently. You lose against BYU. You lose against TCU. But you had 14-0 leads in both of those. When you are 2-5, it's easy to discount those and say, oh, well, so what? You had a 14-0 lead. You're not a very good football team. You're 2-5. But all of a sudden, when you're 3-4 and you realize that you had leads, you just didn't close, you didn't hold them out. Now it's easier to look at this and say, this isn't a national championship contender, but it's also not a bad football team. They just have to win on the margins. There's not a lot of room to make mistakes and still win.
Right. And they still have a chance to make a bowl game. We're not talking
Sure.
national championship, but we're just talking a bowl game. They have Utah coming up next week. That's against another ranked team.
Number
But then,
23 in the country. Yeah.
Yep, number 23. But then you have Arizona at home. You have West Virginia, then ASU at home. Both games you can win.
Yeah.
So I think 3 and 4, the offense, we were talking about this earlier, is starting to look more consistent.
It is.
Again, we know they lost the games against BYU and TCU, but putting up 14 points in that first half and taking that lead, they looked like a good team. And then, of course, we got the win against Iowa State. They put together a full 60 minutes, which we hadn't seen yet. So I'm going into this game against Utah with some optimism. Last year against Utah, they won. So I know we had Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, but if we're just going off of that, we're on a good winning streak.
Well, I mean, I would say if you're a Buffs fan, just go off of that and not off of the other things I'm about to tell you, because these teams played all the time until they played in 1962, and then they didn't play until 2011. So since this has restarted, however, the Buffs did win last year. But all the other ones is 2-11. So they're 3-11 since the series restarted, and maybe even more importantly, they're 0-6 on the road. Utah has been able to get it done in Rice Eccles, which is a terrific place to play. One of the better home field advantages in all of college football, even though it doesn't get discussed as such. But you have coaches and players come out of that and they're like, I did not know what I was getting into. Fortunately, a lot of the Buffs do. Because, now you have a chance to play these guys. But it's really a pivotal game, and it is not going to be an easy one. They are not favored to win. And but this bye week get less some of their injuries to hopefully get better. They've been playing without Simeon Price and DeKalen Taylor at running back, two of the guys that had been in the early part of the season, maybe their two best backs.
Yeah.
And Michael Welch, and now down Hayden is back. Obviously, Caden Salter's playing a part in that, but they've moved Draylon Miller from wide receiver to running back. Cam Michael was taking a lot of the carries in this. So they've had to get it done with depth, but maybe if they can get Price or Taylor back, then you can use some of those other players in other ways. Salter has looked more comfortable. There are still concerns about overthrows and underthrows, but then again, there have also been some moments where you look at it and think like, oh, okay, I get why they thought they were going to get somebody here. Right. And as the game plans continue to get better, the offense continues to get better, you have a puncher's chance. In this game, one of the biggest things that I think has gotten better, Payton, is we talked about this prior to the season. The Buffs did not even average 70 yards a game on the ground last year. It was dead last in the Big 12. The Big 12 has 16 teams. Don't go around college football and start counting teams in the conferences with numbers. Don't do it. Trust me on this. But now they are over 140 a game. Now, that does not rank them near the top either. But at the same time, when you go to more than double your rushing output, now all of a sudden you can look at that and say, we can run the football. So when you're on the road, as the underdog against a team that's probably better than you are, being able to say, we still think we can move the chains on the ground. We can control the clock. We can be physical and wear them down. The Buffs have a pretty good offensive line. And you've asked offensive linemen, would you rather take your first step backwards to pass block? Or would you rather just start bulldozing guys? I've never, ever, ever, ever met one in college or pro who said, man, I just love coming back and pass blocking. Right. So, I mean, let those big guys eat. Let those guys go out there, wear Utah down, make that a tight game in the fourth quarter. And you got a puncher's chance. And then all of a sudden, you're 4-4, and a bowl game starts to maybe even look likely, not a long shot. But then again, if you lose this game, the path gets narrow.
Right. You're back to you have 2 more games on the road, 2 at home. So it gets a little harder.
With 3 to win.
Yeah.
Got to win 3.
Got to win 3
If they lose this one, you got to win 3 or 4.
Still a tough schedule. Obviously, ASU isn't ranked, but they are still a great team. So tough schedule, not impossible though. And definitely Utah will be a big one. If you can get the win on the road against a ranked team, then you really start to look at this team like, this is possible. What are the minor details we can invest? Right now, we're just looking clock management. You got to be able running the ball, major things. Then you can start picking apart Caden Salter a little bit, the overthrows. Because right now, he's winning a game. So he won a game. There were some overthrows, but he also had some great touchdown passes. He's running the ball great. So we're still looking at the big picture of the Buffs. If we win against Utah, that's when you start looking at the small details you can fix to start winning the last.
Yeah, and remember for the Buffs in that win over Iowa State, 2 massive plays, two 30-yard plus plays that might have changed the trajectory of that game and not made it close, got pulled back on penalties, including a really long run by Caden Salter. So they tighten that up a little bit. Things will get better. The defense, I thought, has become more solid. I don't think it's this totally robust unit, but it's gelling a little bit. So everything's going in the right direction, and that's pretty exciting because here we are talking about a Buffs team that Julian Lewis was the top quarterback prospect coming out of high school, and ideally, we don't want to see him until next year.
No, I at first I was saying I want to see him. I want to see what he has to offer. I want to see him play a full 60 minutes. But now I want us to keep winning. And if that goes with Caden Salter and the chemistry he's built, I'll see Julian Lewis next year.
Yeah. Obviously, you want to follow Payton for a lot of what's going on with CU as well. You just had the opportunity to sit down with those players, and that's, yes, spoiler alert, that's going to happen a little bit more as we go along. And also for those catching that, a really cool moment that you're going to be involved with the Colorado Avalanche this weekend in one of the really cool events. I was at the game last year. This is a really cool event that the Avs put together with women and girls in hockey.
Yeah, it's women's and hockey night, Saturday night. I'm going to be hosting it, which I'm already the host of the Colorado Mammoth, but now I get to do the Colorado Avalanche. It's going to be super fun. It's all about girls, and who doesn't love girls in hockey? So it's going to be a fun night. If you're at the game, come say hi. If not, watch the game. Again, follow me on my socials, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, but I'll definitely come back with you on Monday and talk about how it is, but I think it's going to be a great night.
It should be a tremendous amount of fun, obviously, and the Avs off to a phenomenal start. And 9 out of possible 10 points. Things are going well there, so you really get in at the right time. So that's a big moment. So if you're out there, wave at the Jumbotron when she's up there and say hello. So looking forward to going at this next week also as they get ready for Utah. Look, this is the most important game of the season. If there was a week to have a bye, get a little bit healthier, and be able to get 2 weeks in game plan, it couldn't line up better. So that it's all sitting in front of the Buffs as they get ready to resume play next week. The question is, what have they done with that time? We'll be able to use it. Part of it a little bit, Peyton, as we want to touch on it briefly before we check out, is this interesting idea in this week that they held sort of a transfer portal scrimmage. The idea was to put some footage on video for guys who don't get a lot of reps, because some of them may be transferring out. And the initial thought with that, and we talked about it before the show, is kind of like, wait, what? Are you chasing? Are you chasing guys off your team? But actually, I think it's pretty clever, because we talked about before, this is the only way to build teams now. You have to accept the guys are going to come in. You have to accept the guys are going to go. They're going to go somewhere else. Even if you recruited him, even if you believed in him, that's just how it functions. So now when we look at this happening, you can kind of zoom out and realize, no, what Deion Sanders is basically trying to do is let these guys know, I know some of you who are not getting playing time are going to try to leave for greener pastures where you can get some. I know you will. I don't even blame you for that. That's the way it works. So we're going to try to make sure, in appreciation of what you've done for this program, that we're going to get some footage out there that you might not otherwise be able to get because you haven't seen the field. And when you put it that way, it's another opportunity to show what Deion Sanders and the University of Colorado program has evolved to make sure, like we talked about with Alejandro Mata, it is people first, not players first. From being the team that put guys' social handles on the back of their practice jerseys to now doing a scrimmage, so guys that may decide to leave have footage. That's a pretty unique idea, and it's one of those things that when you first hear it, you're like, what are you doing? Like building on a transfer portal. But it's sneaky smart. Deion Sanders understands marketing, and part of the marketing in a year where the Buffs they're not going to win 9 games. They're not going to be in the mix to take on, a top team in the Big 12. So one of the opportunities here is to show, we know it's a bit of a down year, but you want to come to the University of Colorado because we're going to maximize what you can do as a player, not only here, but hopefully on the next level, even if that means you transfer somewhere else to get it.
Yeah. And I like to say his motto is players first. Obviously there's football and there's winning games, but at the end of the day, football is going to be over for some of these athletes sooner rather than later. And at the end of the day, it's going to be over for everyone. And if you can put the player first, let them succeed in what they're doing, like with Charlie Offerdahl and him going to dentistry school. And Mata, I feel like at first I was like, no, you're basically just telling kids, I don't want you here. I want you to transfer out because you don't play.
Yeah. Well, he didn't say he was bringing in his own stuff, and it was Louis this time. So I think that helped.
Right. But at the end of the day, it is about the players. It's about players' health, safety, and where they go in the future.
Go figure. And one of the things I think the Buffs fans can quite frankly be the most proud of is, yes, it is a world of NIL. Yes, there is more money than we've ever seen. Yes, winning games probably matters in that regard more than it ever has. But literally what we're talking about with Deion Sanders, who everyone considers some kind of, like a mercenary that's here to upend the apple cart. He's the guy that's actually going back to the concept of it's student athletes. How about that? And where else but the University of Colorado at Boulder? So it's terrific to see, even if the season hasn't gone exactly as planned, there's a lot to still be played. There's a lot to still in front of them. And the program itself is still ascending. So a lot to be excited about. We'll keep going. Of course, next week we'll have an opportunity to talk more about the Utah game as we get going. But remind you one last time, peckish.co.com is the site. Come on down here at the Hill. You can check out all the wings, all the pizza, all of the goodies that you expect. And how can you do any better? But it's 3 times bigger than it was before. And if you're not up here in Boulder, that's okay. Check it out down in the DTC as well. That will do it for us. It is a bye week for the Buffaloes to rest, recuperate, heal, and prepare for a season-defining game at Utah. So we'll make sure to break it down next week. So Peyton, thanks as always for joining me.
Yes, of course. And what do we say always? 3, 2, 1. Go Buffs.
Go Buffs.